Well, sir, thank you very much for coming along today. So I'm Jess. I work as a movements officer, but I'm also the lead for the support group for the parents coming back into the workplace in the RAF. I've been doing this for about a year now.
Brilliant. Well, Station Commander High Wycombe. I'm also a mover, so that's great that we've got that together. And was really excited to be able to embrace this and support your good work on this station. But what prompted you to start this in the first place?
So I came back from maternity leave 2 years ago, and it was an anxious time. And especially as an officer, you move from one unit to another without necessarily anybody following you and making sure you're supported. Desk officers are also sometimes hard to track down. So you go through a period of being within a chain of command, to suddenly being pregnant, to having nobody. You then find a new job, you leave house, you come back. And that first day back at work for me was an emotional one because I had to drop my daughter off at nursery for the first time. We were both in tears. I got into work, especially during COVID, which a lot of people have experienced. It was a very hard handover. My boss wasn't in, it was going to be working from home. All I wanted to do was just go and pick my daughter up. I was expressing at the time. I had no idea if I could do that anywhere. All the hormones and emotions. And I just thought, if somebody could have reached out to me prior to me starting back and saying, right, Thursday back at work, let's go for coffee, let's have a cry if you want to, let's hold your hand throughout this process. And I realised that wasn't available within the service.
But particularly as we come out of COVID and we're trying to establish that new normal with a more diverse workforce than the RAF was set up with originally, we've got to find our new way, and anything we can do to have those conversations that enable families to come to work safe in the knowledge that their families are being cared for can only make us more effective as an Air Force. I know you've had some successes already, because it's only been going for how long?
For about a year. So initially I set it up on Defence Connect, and the idea is that I get a support contact at each station. So I think I've got support contacts about 23 stations, and that's not just RAF stations, that's Main Building, Boscombe Down, Abbeywood as well. Yeah, success-wise it's been fantastic. I always said when I started this group up, if I could just help one person, then it's a success. And I remember that happened last year, and one person came to me and I thought, right, job done. But I can personally think of 30, 40 people that we've helped, and that's not including all the stations.
Oh, that's fantastic, isn't it? It sounded like you started it while lockdown was still raging, and it was sort of a virtual thing initially, and now it's transformed into reality because we're surrounded by people now, which is fantastic. So, do you still keep that virtual linkage going as well as the face-to-face?
The station-wide across the RAF forum through Facebook and Defence Connect is a really good way for people to have generic questions coming in. We're not experts, but there are people in there who can answer some questions, or if not, I can signpost or get the answers for them. Everybody within the group are volunteers, so it is where we just find out information and help where we can. And then, as I said, find out those answers if and when we can.
I think it's invaluable. I think one of the challenges I've seen across the station is as we are coming, and I think we're still coming out of lockdown because we're still managing that transition back to whatever the new normal will be, is people's childcare arrangements that were set during lockdown aren't necessarily matching where we're going, and that's just causing some tension. So any conversations and support that people can give one another, and so just the conversation to find paths to find solutions for these things is absolutely invaluable, because it causes massive stress at home, and if you're not happy at home, then you're not going to perform at work. So I think it's
one of the things I did do at the end of last year is I actually wrote into AMP, and I said that there was a problem with the care for people, paternity leave, parental leave, and the support for people coming back into work. So he directed COSPERS to look into it, and Air Commodore AP set up a working group. And off the back of this, long story short, they're currently advertising on the reservist website for a full-time squadron leader and flight sergeant to stand up the parent support cell.
Brilliant.
So instead of a flight attendant lobby having all of these things come in, which, don't get me wrong, I love to pieces, and I will continue with the support group. It means I can actually fill this into this team.
Yeah.
They can provide that continuity for people on leave. They can reach out to them. They can reach into them. They can fill questions and answers. And this is absolutely fantastic that before long, by the end of this year, the RAF will have a dedicated team to look after parents.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
So I'm just really impressed with these groundswell ideas that come up and deliver such important things, and it's an example of that Astra mindset of people innovating and just getting on with stuff. and then that good idea being seized on by the RAF and supported. And I'm really pleased that RAF High Wycombe is one of the first stations to embrace this, and I'll help them on their way.